Alright, let's get straight into it. In this video, we're breaking down a tier list of the best characters in Octopath Traveler 0, and yes, things might get a little spicy. Some characters absolutely dominate fights, while others really make you work for that win. I'll be talking about which characters feel the strongest overall, which ones shine in specific situations, and why certain picks just make the game smoother and more fun to play. Think of this less like a strict ranking and more like a friendly chat between players who've spent way too many hours in Octopath 0. I'll explain what makes these characters so good, how they fit into different team setups, and which ones are worth investing your time and resources into early on. Whether you're just starting out or you're deep into the game and wondering if your favorite character is actually top tier, you're in the right place. Let's jump in. I'm quickly moving on to the video and I'm ranking characters in Octopath Traveler 0. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Celsus, Macy, Corinda, Pius, Esper, Tressa, Olberic, and Elrica. Some characters don't crash the party, they just quietly sit on the couch nodding along, wondering how they ended up in the middle of this fight. And yep, that's exactly the vibe we get when we step into the C tier of Octopath Traveler 0. Not completely hopeless, but definitely raising a few eyebrows. Let's start with Celsus, the dodge tank who really took the independent lifestyle to heart. He can avoid hits pretty well and barely asks for healing, which sounds great on paper. The problem is that his evasion is not as consistent as you would hope, and when luck turns against him, things fall apart fast. He keeps himself alive, sure, but he does not do much for the rest of the team, making him feel more selfish than strategic. Next up is Macy, the classic early game hero who peaks way too soon. At the start, she feels amazing thanks to expert first aid, which can carry your party through some rough encounters. Sadly, as the game progresses, her impact drops hard. What once felt clutch slowly turns into why is she still here, and before you know it, she is warming the bench. Then we have Corinda, and honestly, this one hurts. She is easily one of the weakest characters in the entire roster when it comes to combat. Her saving grace is Arrow of Fortune, which is incredible for Joe Point farming and makes leveling jobs much easier. Outside of that very specific niche though, she struggles to justify a slot in your party. Pius is a weird case because he almost tricks you into thinking he belongs higher. His ultimate skill is genuinely fantastic and can feel game-changing at first. The issue is that later characters bring similar effects while also offering more utility overall. Sacred Shield is solid, but when you compare him to stronger buffers or more reliable healers, he starts to feel replaceable. Moving on to Esper, and there is no sugarcoating this one, she is among the weakest characters available, and it shows. The only thing that makes her stand out at all is Vivify, which can save a run in very specific situations. Outside of that, she brings very little to the table and often feels like dead weight. Tressa is next, and she is the queen of money, just not of combat. She is fantastic for farming currency and donating boost points to teammates, which is undeniably useful. Unfortunately, when it comes to raw fighting power or standout combat skills, she just does not have much going on, making her feel more like an accountant than a warrior. Now let's talk about Olberic, who somehow manages to be both sturdy and frustrating at the same time. As a physical attacker, he is on the weaker side, and his cover ability can actually get him killed at the worst possible moments. Surpassing power is an incredible skill, but the sad truth is that it shines brightest when you transfer it to someone who can use it better than he can. Finally, we reach Elrica, a character with a kit that looks flexible and promising at first glance. She brings buffs and can deal both light and slash damage, which is great in theory. In practice, her low defensive stats make front row combat extremely risky, forcing her to hide in the back just to stay alive. On top of that, she does not have an ultimate technique and is only available as a temporary recruit, which seriously limits her long-term value. So yeah, the C tier in Octopath Traveler 0 is not about useless characters. It is about characters who almost work, but never quite get there. They have moments, they have niches, and sometimes they even surprise you, just not often enough to climb any higher. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Fen, Viator, Delitia, Hydney, Solon, and Rondo. This is the tier where characters stop being awkward passengers and start grabbing the steering wheel. Maybe not perfectly, but at least they know where the brakes are. B tier in Octopath Traveler 0 is full of units that feel good to use, especially in the mid-game, even if they are not quite endgame monsters. Let's kick things off with Fen, who is an absolute wall in the early stages of the game. He brings multiple multi-hit skills to the table, which makes breaking enemy shields much easier, and he can actually take a punch. On top of that, his exploration passive Vigorous Victor is genuinely fantastic, keeping your party healthier as you move through the world. He might fall off later, but early on, Fen feels like that dependable teammate who never misses practice. Next up is Viator, the tank who secretly wants to be a damage dealer. He leans heavily into offense and has some respectable damage options for a frontline character. The downside is survivability. Without proper healing or defensive support, he can drop faster than expected. With the right team behind him though, Viator can absolutely pull his weight. Delicia sits comfortably in the solid but temporary category. Her ultimate ability is fantastic for physical focus teams and can boost damage in a very noticeable way. The problem is timing. Once stronger characters start joining your roster, her role becomes harder to justify. She does her job well, just not for as long as you might hope. Then there is Haydn, who does not scream combat powerhouse, but quietly becomes invaluable if you like efficiency. She is excellent for stealing items and farming resources, especially when paired with a supportive protagonist sitting safely in the back row. If you enjoy squeezing extra value out of every encounter, Haydn feels like a cheat code. Solon is where things get a little more interesting. He brings reliable debuffs to the table and can even reveal enemy weaknesses using his ultimate, which is huge for planning turns efficiently. On top of that, his narrow escape ability gives him a chance to survive lethal damage indefinitely, turning some fights into pure comedy when he just refuses to die. Finally, we have Rondo, the shield-breaking specialist. Against enemies weak to light, he absolutely shreds shields and speeds up battles dramatically. Augmented Break is one of the best passives in the game, though ironically it often shines more when you pass it on to another character. Even so, Rondo earns his spot in B tier by making fights smoother and faster whenever light weakness is in play. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Stia, Lorana, Ludo, Xerk, Goodwin, Ophelia, Cyrus, Primrose, Ulfin, Ferion, Bargello, Richard, and Eltrix. This is the point where characters stop feeling pretty good and start feeling genuinely powerful, the kind that make you rethink your party slots every time you unlock someone new. A tier in Octopath Traveler 0 is stacked with units that absolutely carry runs, even if they still have one or two small flaws holding them back from perfection. Let's start with Styre, the boost point queen. Her ultimate is incredible for generating boost pins, and her passive does a great job keeping frontline characters safe from sudden disaster. She can also donate boost points herself, which already puts her ahead of many supports. That said, to really keep up with the highest tier characters, she needs strong action skills backing her up. Otherwise, she risks becoming a one-trick wonder. Lorana is one of those characters you truly appreciate after she saves a fight you had no business winning. Her re-raise skill is extremely powerful, her passive is helpful, and her ultimate fits nicely into many team comps. The catch is that her health regeneration alone will not carry fights, so she still needs solid active skills to remain impactful as battles get harder. Then we have Ludo, a fan favorite for farming. He shines when it comes to breaking enemy shields, especially thanks to his ultimate, which makes the entire process feel smooth and satisfying. Fierce Rush helps him pile on damage after breaks, which feels great in mid-game. However, once you reach late game and enemies start dying instantly after breaks, his ultimate loses some of its magic. Xerk is pure elemental chaos in the best way possible. As long as you have the right soul stones, his elemental coverage is absolutely insane, letting him hit almost any weakness you need. His multi-hit options outside his ultimate are limited, so he relies on teammates to break shields first. Still, his ultimate hitting 6 times is nothing to sneeze at. Goodwin is a character who looks unimpressive up front but turns into a monster from the back row. Vast energy combined with Song of Battle creates massive value for your damage dealers. He pairs beautifully with heavy hitters like Raim and Sazantos, boosting their output while staying safely out of danger himself. Next up is Ophelia, the undisputed queen of Job Point farming. She has one of the strongest ultimates for physical teams, making her a core pick for damage-focused setups. On top of that, she brings a versatile area of effect revive that does not even require her ultimate. which is just absurd value packed into one character. Cyrus feels like the definition of consistency. He offers strong elemental coverage and can break shields efficiently whenever Rashant triggers. His ultimate also hits 6 times, making him both reliable and explosive when things line up correctly. He might not be flashy, but he always gets the job done. Primrose earns her A-tier spot thanks to her incredible buffing potential. The Show Goes On is one of the best support passives available, extending buffs and keeping momentum going. However, as the late game rolls in, she needs strong active skills to compete with newer, more overloaded support characters. Then there is Alfin, another boost point machine. His ultimate is fantastic for boost point generation, though you can swap this role with Styre depending on your setup. He has decent supportive tools overall, but like a few others in A tier, he really wants stronger action skills to fully shine. Therian is all about control and efficiency. He excels at stealing items and is a fantastic debuffer, especially when paired with extended enfeeblement. The downside is that, once again, his action skills can feel a bit lacking compared to the absolute best debuffers in the game. Bargello plays more like a setup specialist than a raw damage dealer. A step ahead enables some truly disgusting buff and debuff openings, letting your team snowball fights from turn 1. His damage is not particularly impressive, so he naturally leans toward a support-focused role rather than pure offense. Richard is a buffer through and through. Bolster combined with his ultimate gives your team a serious power spike, and he can even boost back row damage while filling his own ultimate gauge at the same time. He feels smooth, efficient, and very easy to slot into many compositions. Finally, we have Eltrix, who might just be the best tank in the entire roster. He is reliable, offers solid buffs, and pairs extremely well with fragile back row characters who need protection. Tanks are not top tier overall in Octopath Traveler 0, but if you are going to run one, Eltrix is absolutely the gold standard. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Protagonist, Alexia, Seisha, Raymer, Ha'anit, Alauna, Isla, Sazantos, and Tatlock. This is where the game stops asking politely and starts handing you the keys to absolute chaos. S tier in Octopath Traveler 0 is stacked with characters who do not just perform well, they actively warp how fights are played, planned, and sometimes completely deleted. Let's get the obvious one out of the way, the Protagonist. You are forced to use them, and thankfully they are absurdly good. With the right build, the Protagonist turns into one of the strongest attackers in the game, deleting enemies before they even get a turn. At the same time, they can flip roles and become a surprisingly effective support, which makes them fit into almost any team without friction. Seisha is the quiet mastermind of S tier. She arguably has the strongest supportive ultimate technique in the entire game, especially when your team is built around high multi-hit attacks. She does her best work from the back row though, because up front she can feel underwhelming. Park her safely behind the front line, and suddenly your entire team feels illegal. Then we have Raymer, one of the most reliable physical damage dealers available. Her passives are excellent, her kit is focused, and her ultimate technique hits 6 times, which means the damage just does not stop. If you want consistent physical pressure without any gimmicks, Raymer delivers every single time. Hani is a shield-breaking nightmare when paired with Saurash's ultimate. She unloads multi-hit attacks like it is her full-time job and can push out ridiculous damage when properly supported with boost points. The only downside is that her passives can be a bit unpredictable, but when they line up, the results are terrifying. Alauna earns her spot as arguably the best healer in the game. Not only does she keep the party alive with ease, but she also brings surprisingly strong offensive spell options. Encourage is a fantastic tool for manipulating turn order, and she can seamlessly swap roles with Ophelia whenever you need revive on demand instead of raw healing. Ela is likely the strongest spellcaster in Octopath Traveler 0, and it is not particularly close. Her passives are incredible, she has solid self-sustain, and her damage output is absurd. She can even dip into a support role when needed, though her ultimate technique is hungry for skill points, so she appreciates some backup there. Then there is Sazantos, the undisputed king of shield breaking. Divine Flame and Phantom Strike make him unmatched at shredding shields, and once the enemy is broken, he follows up with devastating damage. The only tragedy is that he is a temporary companion unless you clear the true ending, which feels like the game teasing you on purpose. Tatlock sits comfortably among the best buffers and debuffers in the game, rivaled only by top-tier passives from characters like Primrose and Therion. She deals serious damage when enemies are enchanted and breaks shields efficiently, especially when using fans or benefiting from Sawash's ultimate. She does a bit of everything and she does it frighteningly well. Finally, we have Alexia, the early game menace who refuses to fall off. She deals consistent elemental damage to all enemies, stays active forever thanks to conserve magic, and reveals enemy weaknesses early with incidental analysis. That utility edge shows up long before similar skills even exist, making her feel like she is always one step ahead of the game. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.